Hey there, this is Jenn T. Grace, founder of Publisher Purpose, and I am here with Chris Davis today, who is launching her new book, Worthy. Chris, how are you doing right now?
I'm excellent, Jen. Thanks.
I just love having these conversations. And before we hit record, I was saying how excited I am and how much fun I'm having just watching your book launch happening, like in real time. Like there's something really beautiful and magical about it. So the book is called Worthy, the memoir of an ex-Mormon lesbian.
Yes.
So I feel like to some degree there's a lot of self-explanatory to that subtitle, but I would love to kind of hear, to tell the listeners and people watching just high level what your book is about.
I was queer in the Mormon church, but closeted for the majority of my life. I kind of put up with or endured or inwardly maybe tried to dismiss the criticism of the LGBT community by the church for years and years, decades. And then when my youngest came out at 15
Mm.
as non-binary at the time, um, it made me look more closely at that. And I just didn't want my kid to experience the kind of self-hatred that I had developed because of being in the church. And so we left. So that's kind of the journey to that and then beyond.
Yeah. And so I'm curious if you would like to share a little bit about why calling it worthy. What's the origin story for that?
Worthy is a trigger word for members of the LDS Church, the Mormon Church. They regularly have worthiness interviews
Mm.
to qualify for higher level involvement in the church. And there are specific direct questions that are asked one-on-one interview with a priesthood authority, two priesthood authorities, and they leaders, and they ask questions about how you are obeying the church's rules and standards and meeting your obligations in that way. And
Mm.
so it took me writing this book actually is what made me start to look inward for my worthiness instead
Mm.
of having it come from outside.
Mm. I think that's so powerful because I think the word worthy on its own, there's obviously a lot of implications to it, but this book is clearly written for a very specific audience. So and I'm curious if you want to kind of speak to the audience for a few, because I have some other observations, but I'd rather just kind of maybe start baseline of, who is it written for? Because it's the memoir of an ex-Mormon lesbian. There's a Venn diagram to be had here of who that is. So, can you kind of elaborate a little bit more of, who you're hoping is the one who's reading this, who you actually wrote it for, and anything in that area?
I wrote this book for parents. Mostly for members of the LDS Church, but also other high obligation, high requirement religions, high demand religions.
Mhm,
Uh, I know a lot of people who are not LDS are feeling drawn to this book or are feeling like they relate with it.
mhm,
But one thing that concerns me is that some well-meaning parents are handing this book to their young teen daughters. I'm not sure why this is happening, but I just want to be clear that this is not a book for children, that this is a book for the parents. And if after reading the book, a parent decides to share this with their child, I would really prefer that they set up a structure for meaningful conversations about the difficult content that's in this book.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things that it's so hard to, sometimes it's hard to know whether who a book is written for, even more so when it's a memoir, because I think memoirs are in so many ways there's such a universalness to them. And so I like your kind of PSA here of, if you are thinking about sharing it with your child, at least read it first. So that way you can kind of maybe skirt them around certain areas of the book that could be triggering or could just, be inappropriate content.
Yeah, chapter 2 has a poem that's, inappropriate for children that should not be in front of their face without some
Mhm.
kind of guidance.
Yeah. Which is also very much it's like a cliffhanger, right? So it's like, "Ooh, I'm watching this. Chris's book just came out. Now I need to know what's in chapter 2." So if that's the reason to promote you to prompt you to go buy the book, there's a good reason right there. So You have come out of the gate so strong with this book. So I feel so fortunate that we have been working together for as long as we have because you went through our writing program first, did a whole bunch of really intense work through it, worked a little bit, after that program ended, and then you were like, I'm ready to get this published. So I feel like I personally and PYP broadly has just such a great sense of kind of what you've been working on and chipping away at as you've gone through, which we don't always have the benefit of. So it's kind of like extra special for me. So when we think about it's Pride Month, it was a very intentional decision to release this book in Pride Month. What have you been doing or seeing or maybe conversations have you been getting involved in just as a result of the book being out? Because it just launched, like it is very, very new, within the last couple of weeks. And it was very intentionally put out in Pride Month. So I'm just kind of curious, like just high level, like anything that you're hearing from people that's making you say, or things that you're like, oh my God, this is exactly what I was trying to help people with.
I think visibility matters and representation.
Mhm.
I am fortunate enough to work in a place that displays books regularly, and they have pride displays, and so they're really featuring my book, and that is flattering. But it just gets people gets it in front of them in a way that has benefited me a great deal. But the conversation. I'm hearing people just say, "You're telling my story."
Mm.
Even people who aren't queer are like, "Oh, I experienced that trauma as a woman in the church or as a member of the church." I'm hearing that quite a bit. It's really it's been wonderful for me to connect with those people and to hopefully contribute to healing.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's really cool is that our, book distributor reached out to us to tell us that you were and I'm gonna make sure I have it right, on the indie curated books list for Pride Month. So it is and it's, you can see it on bookshop.org, which I am a huge fan of bookshop.org because they do support independent bookstores. They raise a lot of money for them, and they're also a B Corp, which I'm constantly talking about, which is just a commitment to the environment, sustainability, social responsible practices, etc. So, how did it feel just knowing that like your book was deemed worthy enough to be on like such a really like an influential curated list for Pride? Like it is a big deal and pretty amazing.
It shocked me. It really surprised me, but I'm like, hot damn, let's get this out there. Let's get this in front of people. I think it's an important message, and I'm really excited to talk about it and be part of the national conversation.
Yeah. And so what are your plans, right? So and I know you've been working on this for a while, right? Like we've collectively been doing this for some time and you've been really planting a lot of seeds with your audience and your network of people. But what's the next step and the next phase beyond the book for you personally?
Beyond the book, right now
In
I'm
relation to the
I
book, with the book, not like, oh, the
oh,
book doesn't exist, like with the book. Like what are you and the book
okay.
doing together?
I am elbow deep in promotions right now.
Yeah, that's what I
I'm
mean.
very active on social media. I have a few signings with Sherman's Bookstore in Maine. It's a local Maine chain of bookstores, and they are doing a phenomenal job of helping me promote my book. I have a signing this Saturday, and then I have a signing in excuse me this Saturday in Damariscotta. But then the following Saturday on June 17th, it's Pride Day in Portland, Maine, and I am going to be right in the Old Port signing books,
Ah,
so
how
at
exciting
Sherman's.
is that?
I'm
Oh my god,
very excited, yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
That is amazing. We should connect to offline because my son and I are trying to figure out what pride event we wanna go to. Maybe we'll
Oh,
drive to Portland. It's not that
maybe
far.
that'd be great.
Be fun. All right, making a note of that. So yeah, like I think that there's so much opportunity because I think you really kind of hit the nail on the head of being part of a national conversation around all of this. So what does that national conversation kind of look like currently? And where are you seeing yourself kind of easily plugging into it?
I'm just about to. I've already recorded an episode in a podcast called Latter Day Lesbian. I think they have a fantastic audience and a broad reach. I'm looking forward to debuting on there, and also, oh, tell me your question again. I'm sorry.
Just kind of like your contributions into this national. Like, I'm just curious. So, for somebody who's watching this and they're like, okay, I hear Mormonism and I hear LGBTQ plus community. I don't really know like what that national conversation looks like.
Yeah, I haven't heard the conversation yet either, so I'm looking forward to
Oh.
looking forward to listening to it, hearing it. I'm involved
Mhm.
with the Mama Dragons, who are moms who are trying to support their children, uh, who are queer and still, be religious, in
Mhm.
some cases, and so, I am trying to listen to what they're saying,
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to, just I'm available to
Mhm.
talk, and, I hope that my book will be a part of that voice.
Yeah, yeah, and it sounds like I heard you say before that you can, and these are my words now, you can kind of replace Mormonism in relation and just apply any denomination really when it comes
Yes,
to religion. And it still will be applicable for somebody to read because they can kind of internalize it and see, okay, I'm not alone.
exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
I had a friend of a friend, say that she, could really relate. She's not a member of the Mormon Church, but she has been religious all her life and actually left her church because they were not friendly to LGBTQ
Mhm.
couples. And she said she cried buckets, she laughed out loud, and the things that I said about being in a church, uh, in this climate, it really struck her, and she doesn't
Mhm.
have a queer kid or anything, but she
Mhm.
just really felt like that thumb
Mhm.
down on her, and
Mhm.
she could relate with a lot of what I was saying, so I
Mhm.
think it has a broader audience than I maybe give it credit for.
Yeah, I definitely think it does, for sure, because I think that there's also, like, we're talking about, like, the parent audience, right? Like, it's meant for adults, but if you have a child who is coming out or some stage of coming out, and you are involved in some religious organization in some way, shape, or form, it's probably a good book to just at least have in your back pocket for, because you as someone who is not LGBTQ+ wouldn't necessarily know that nuanced experience that your child might be having, and so this is like a nice lens to provide for someone who might just not know.
Absolutely, that's a good way to put it, yeah.
Mm. And so you have definitely done, I've seen lots of activity on your social media. You are out and about in all directions. And so I guess if anyone is watching this and they're like, this is an interesting topic for, for me to bring Chris on, you can certainly get in touch with you. And I'll put your website up on the screen
Thank you.
for those to see. So Chris Davis Proud. And then what social media channels are you primarily active on at this point?
Primarily, I get the most interaction with people on Facebook and Instagram. I am on Tik TikTok, but I don't really have any. But I'm on Twitter. I'm not getting any traction on Twitter for some reason, but I'll still post there, and of course, um, YouTube and LinkedIn.
Mhm. Awesome. Is there, is there like what's next? Like what's the like what are, and I know you have book signings and stuff coming up, but are you hoping to take the stage and really be speaking in a lot of places? Is that something that folks who might be reading this and be like, wow, like she's really sharing an important message. I want to have her come speak to my people. Is that, something that you're interested in? Are there other things that you're kind of hoping happen too?
Yeah, I mean, I am
Amazing.
interested. I have not pursued any of those opportunities yet. Um, I will say that I was invited to speak at a church recently, and that felt icky to me. So I'm not
Mhm.
sure exactly where I will speak,
Mhm.
but I would like to, contribute. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. Is there anything else you want to share before we kind of conclude here? I don't want to have you have like a burning thing that you want to say and then we didn't get to it.
I would like to toot your horn for a second, if that's
Oh,
okay. And just thank you. Thank PYP and thank you, Jen, personally, for
oh,
just holding my hand through the entire process, start to finish. I had
mhm.
gentle reminders when I slowed down, and just the whole process has been wonderful. I've really enjoyed it, and I felt held and safe during the process. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for saying that. There's something so important about that feeling of being held and just knowing that like, okay, this is a hard story. There's a lot of difficult components to it. I can do this without feeling judged by my publisher, for example, which does
Absolutely.
happen, unfortunately. So thank you for saying that.
Yes, and you've given me access to so many more opportunities by making me available on Ingram and helping to promote my products. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and if anyone is interested in September 27th, I hope I have the date right. In Hartford at the Mark Twain House, Chris will be one of our multiple authors that will be there sharing their experiences and available for book signing there too. So I am very excited about that. I know September seems like a long time away, but it's not really, especially in the world of event planning. We are, but I think it'll be great. So if anyone is, watching this and you're local to the Hartford or Connecticut area, or even just kind of New England, we all know it's small. Chris will be there for her book signing as well, which I'm also excited about.
I am very excited too, and to see the whole PYP family, it's fun.
I know, because when you were there last September, you didn't have your book yet, and so
I
now it's like
didn't,
a whole different experience.
and I had just picked my title, and so I was still stumbling over it, and I'm pretty clear on what it is now, though. Thanks.
Yeah, which is amazing. So amazing. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I am so excited. I'm glad that we met all of our timelines to get it out in June, because now this is why it's being featured on Pride lists, because, there's something really specific about what you're writing about, but there is something also so universal about what you're writing about. And so I'm hoping and optimistic that our collaboration together really just impacts the collective people that we're hoping it does. So thank you
Thank you.
for
I
doing what you
appreciate
do.
that. And also, I just want to say that this book has some heaviness to it, but it also has some levity and lightness, some humorous stories, and it does
Mhm.
have a happy ending. So, just saying that.
Yes, yes, which was a very intentionally created. Yes, through the whole process. So yes, it's not all doom and gloom, and
No,
no book should be, even when
no.
they are hard. Yes. All right. So for those watching, whether you're watching this live or whether watching this in 3 years, does not matter. Chris's book is available wherever you want to purchase your book. Right now, as I mentioned before, it's on the indie curated books list on bookshop.org under their Pride section. So I am always a fan of purchasing through bookshop.org, as I mentioned before. So please consider doing that. It's also available on Amazon if that is your preference for purchasing books. Barnes and Noble, your Sherman's, which is where, a local chain in Maine,
Hmm.
all the different places. So wherever you want to support her book, please go ahead and do that. We would all greatly appreciate it. And Chris, I will talk to you very, very soon. I very much appreciate it. I'm so excited for you. This is
Thank you
amazing.
so much. Thanks, Jen. I really appreciate your help.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, you bet.